Now let's take a look at this standalone application, Adobe Bridge. Under your File menu, you find Browse in Bridge. In CS5, there used to be a little button across the bar along the top called the Application Bar. In CS6, they found that the application bar was taking up too much very valuable screen real estate or territory, so they removed the application bar, although they did leave the workspace switcher. So you can use File, Browse in Bridge. They did leave in Mini Bridge, the BR button that will also launch Bridge, so you can click Mini Bridge and click Launch Bridge, or choose File Browsing Bridge, or hit the BR button that you will find down here to reveal in Imaging Bricks. Once Bridge is launched, it's a good idea to maximize. As a heavy Photoshop user who does a lot of personal photography and photography while I travel, I live in Bridge. Everything I open comes from Bridge. Every now and then I will jump down to Mini Bridge, and because of the new layout in CS6, I find myself going down more and more often. The Bridge has one feature that I think is worth the price of the upgrade, or the price of admission if you have bought this DVD. It is battery naming for anyone that manages large amounts of images. The names are very essential, and I hate the default name that my camera gives something, DSC something or IMG something. So in Bridge, I am going to make the previews a little larger by just sliding this to the right or left, and I will choose Edit, Select All. The Tools menu contains most of the things that I use in Bridge, and the first choice is Batch Rename. Now, Bridge will rename anything. It can rename Word docs. It can rename PDF pages extracted in separate files. Bridge is simply a replacement for your operating system. It lets you navigate to any folder on your hard drive or any inserted CD or flash disk or USB disk that you may have, so you could rename directly on your camera if your camera is plugged in and mounted on your desktop before even copying your files over. The first thing I do when I dump a batch of images, either from my phone or from my camera, is rename them. So under Tools Batch Rename, I am going to not have such a long file name. I don't ever put the date and time in the file name because the metadate panel in Bridge shows that to me. So I will hit the minus to the right of date and time to remove that. And if you are working along with the video, you can pause now, go find a folder of images of yours, and do the batch renaming with me, or find it later, come back and watch the video again. I am also going to get rid of the second text field, and I will start by naming this with an underscore as a separator so that if I email this, it doesn't get %20 in the file name. Spaces are illegal on the web, and that's why often your email attachments' file names change. The last time I renamed images, Bridge remembers that, in case you are shooting multiple cards of camera images, it remembers the last one in the sequence that it renamed. So, if it's a wedding and you filled out 5 cards and the last batch you have downloaded ended at 200, when you insert the second card of images that you shot at the wedding, it would start at 201. I am going to type 1 here, so it started sequence number 1, and since there is only 18 files, I will use 2 digits for the naming. I never recommend anyone using 1-digit naming convention because 1 digit would sort a list of 10 as 1, 10, and 2, 3, 4, the 2-digit will go 01, 02, 03. Just a good habit, and practice makes permanent, so practice good stuff. The photographers I work with like to check this box. Preserve current file name in the XMP metadata. Metadata just means extract data about the file stored in the file, that wedding of their original count for the images they shot on their camera. I have also seen it's used in large companies that have millions of images in a database. They might be pulling down a product shot and then modifying it to clone someone out or change a shirt color, for example. So they would preserve the original file names so that when it goes back in a database, there's a reference to both the images started with and the new corrected image. But in this case, I don't care my camera renamed it. I just want renamed. So when I hit rename, boom, it's that fast. It's already done. Once it's finished naming, let's organize Bridge to a more useful workspace, the way I like it, basically Kelly's workspace. So as you located Adobe Bridge, you have your menu bar. You have an application bar, which lets you go back, and you could surf through with these offer. You can rotate images in advance if you are shooting at a sight angle, but none of mine are at the improper orientation, and you have different workspaces. This is your workspace switcher. If you stretch that, you could see a few more, like the light table workspace, which gets rid of everything and just shows your images, or the preview workspace. So I am going to click on just the icon itself, and it brings a large preview into the preview window, so I can get a better look at my image. I could also make the preview size bigger or smaller for this content area if you want to see more of them. We will start at Essentials because that's how it comes out of the box, and what I like to do is use as more valuable screen real estate for my thumbnails, my content, so I will drag Preview down to the lower left, Metadata and Keywords down to the lower left, and dragging them by their tab with their name. Then I will double-click, or if I double-click again, it's back. You can grab this darker gray area. Looking for kind of these three little lines is a spot to grab and drag it to the right so that content has more room. Finally, I can just see a little bit of PE in Preview, so I click on Preview and I make my preview take up about half of my screen. I also like to get about 4 images across in the content area. So one click, not a double click, will preview each image. Finally, I don't like to favorites view. I call this the child preview or super easy view. In the favorites view on Windows, it is very helpful because it will show my pictures. You could see the pictures folder, and I preferred the folders view. When I click on folders, to expand the desktop, click the triangle to the left of Jumpstart and click directly on Vienna. If I was still in the Vienna folder, it would have shown me that automatically, but this way there is no mystery about what folder you are looking at. If I scroll down, I can expand my computer and see all the drives that I have inserted. Quite a few, because I do a lot of image work, but this is your tour of Bridge. The last thing I will point out is, if I want to see this image bigger, I click on it once, and then double-click on Folders, and it collapses folders. The wider I make this, the more detail I get, and to see my folders again, I double-click and it expands again. If I still want to see this larger, but want to see some of folders, then I can pull that up. So once I've finished with this workspace, I will choose Window, Workspace, and New Workspace. This way I can name my Kelly workspace, and when I hit Save, Kelly will always show up here at the top in your workspace switcher area. You can also get to your workspace by clicking the arrow to the right of Metadata, or by choosing Window Workspace Kelly. Launch Bridge to File browsing Photoshop and see if you can work along the video to arrange your workspace as I have shown. If you ever want to reset the workspace, if I go to Essentials, it's reset. But if it doesn't remember the position under Window Workspace, you could choose Reset Standard Workspaces. I hope you enjoy Bridge as much as I do.